All right, here are your homework solutions to factoring. And again, I'm only going to do the ones with one variable, not the multivariable. So when I look here, I'm going to factor out a 2 and an x, because that's the greatest common factor. And then what's left over when you divide is x squared. And when you divide 128 by 2, you get 64. Now what's left inside the parentheses is a subtracting binomial. So I can square root x squared and square root 64. And so the square root of x squared is x. What number times itself is 64? And so my answer is going to be 2x, but then x plus 8, and then x subtract 8. Number 2. I want to look and find the greatest common factor. That's 6 and x. And then divide. So I have 4x squared plus 3x minus 1. Not a simple trinomial. I'm going to take the first number times the last number. That's negative 4. And then 3. And then I'm going to find the numbers that match. So that's positive 4 and negative 1. And then I'm going to write that. Positive 4 and negative 1. Then I'm going to take that leading number, 4, and divide both by it. Both numbers. So I have 6x. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 1 over 4 is a fraction in lowest terms, and I just slide that 4 in front. So that's 4x minus 1, and it's done. I'm not going to do 3 and 4, so let's look at number 5. So is there a greatest common factor? No. So I'm going to take the first number times the last number, and I get negative 36. And negative 9. So two numbers that multiply to 36 and subtract to 9. So those two numbers are 12 and 3. And 12 needs to be negative. So I'm going to write down the letter minus 12 and the letter plus 3. And then I'm going to take that leading number 2 and divide both things by 2, both numbers. So 12 divided by 2 is 6. 3 divided by 2 is a fraction in lowest term, so I slide that 2 in front, and that's 2i plus 3. No to 6, no to 7. Let's try number 8. And number 8 again, I'm going to divide out a 3, because that's all in common, so let me do that first. Now it's a simple trinomial, so I don't need the first times last, just the 1 and the 2, negative 2. So what two numbers multiply to 1 and add to negative 2 is negative 1 and negative 1. So I don't need to write it down twice. I'm just going to write it down once and square it. All right, no to 9 and no to 10. Turn the page. I'm going to factor out a common factor here. So that's 16 and q. And then I'm going to divide. So 16 divided by 16, that's 1q squared. Negative 48 divided by 16 is 3q. And 32 divided by 16 is 2. And then it's a simple trinomial. So two numbers that multiply to 2 and add to 3. And they both need to be negative so that it fits. So I write down 16q and then q minus 1 and then q minus 2. Number 12. The greatest common factor is 13x, and then I divide, and then I'm going to square root. So the square root of x to the 4th and the square root of 1. Remember when you are square rooting algebra that you take the exponent and divide it by 2. So the exponent divided by 2, and then the square root of 1 is 1. So I have 13x, x squared plus 1, and x squared subtract 1. Just for fun, x squared subtract 1 is a subtracting binomial. This is prime and this is prime, but this one actually can go one more step. That's fun. The square root of x squared and the square root of 1. So our final answer is 13x, and we have x squared plus 1, but then I have x in 1, so it's x plus 1 and x minus 1. And now it's completely factored. Great job. Number 13, a lot simpler. Just a simple trinomial. So what two numbers multiply to 81 and add to 18? At any time you can press pause and try it first. That's the best choice. So that is 9 and 9. Because they repeat, I don't have to write it twice. I'll just square it. Look at number 14. It's 4 terms, so I'm going to factor by grouping. So when I look at the first 2 terms, the greatest common factor is 4 and x squared, and then divide, and you have 1x plus 5. When I look at the last 2, I factor out a negative 9 and divide. A negative divided by negative is positive, so they have a common factor, and then 4x squared minus 9. Now for fun, 4x squared and 9 is a difference of squares. It's a subtracting binomial, so the square root of 4x squared and the square root of 9 is 2x and 3. So we have 2x plus 3 and 2x subtract 3. All right, number 15, too many variables. Number 16, greatest common factor is 2m and then divide. And then we are going to go the first number times the last number. That's negative 84 and 5. And then I need to find 2 numbers that multiply to negative 84 and subtract to 5. 13, no. What are 2 numbers? Because I was just thinking of 4, so I know that 21 times 4 is 84, but that's not going to work. So 2 numbers that multiply to 84 and subtract to 5. I'm not going to give up. So it's not 21. It's 14 and 9. No. How about 15 and 5? No. 16 and 11? No. Gotta go the other way. I know 12 doesn't. What's 12 and 7? Oh, it does work, 12 and 7. I don't even know my 12 times tables. Haha. It is 12 and 7. Did you know that before me? And the 12's positive, the 7's negative. And then we write that down, 12 and 7. And then divide by 2. And we have m plus 6. And then slide the 2, and we have 2m minus 7. There we go. A little bit of thinking there. 17 is a subtracting binomial, so I'm going to square root 81 and y to the 4th and 1. And so that gives me 9y squared and 1. So I have 9y squared plus 1, 9y squared minus 1. The subtracting binomial, we can do it one more time. So the square root of 9y squared is 3y. And again, the square root of 1 is 1. So we have 9y squared plus 1, that's prime. But then we have 3y plus 1 and 3y minus 1. All right, 2 more. All right, we're going to group this one. Factor out an x squared, divide, and you have 3x minus 1. Factor out a negative 3. No, negative 1. That's what you got because it's prime. But negative 1, and you get 3x minus 1. So they share 3x minus 1. X squared take away 1 is left over. This is a subtracting binomial. So we're going to square root. And so our end answer is going to be x plus 1 and x subtract 1. All right, number 20. So no common factor. 4 times 25 is 100 and negative 20. So the 2 numbers that multiply to 100 and add to 20 would be 10 and 10, right? And they both are negative. That's what fits. So we have 10 and 10, and then divide by 4. Now I know I only have to write it once, but I do have to reduce this down. So divide by 2, top and bottom, and square it, and then slide that denominator over, and you have the answer. All right. Mr. G Math over and out. I'm proud of you for doing your work and not giving up. Till next time.